Yes, on interference, we are going to take up this matter seriously with the EU Parliament. Reason being, foreign policy matters globally are a preserve of the executive. Parliamentary diplomacy should be complementing. Okay? So the EU should be doing oversight on how the Parliamentary Commission is doing its job. But for Parliament to summon my ambassador, can you imagine? They had an audacity to summon Uganda's ambassador. So the ambassador calling me, I'm being summoned in Brussels at the EU Parliament. I said, to hell with them. You can't go. You know, you can't go. And she didn't go, and the meeting flopped. Because now they had gotten, and you know, when they were calling the meeting, I don't know, but these are issues which we shall strongly discuss with them. I saw how they treated Tanzania. Today it might be Uganda, it might be Tanzania. Tomorrow it will be your country. And we must stand up and defend our integrity as Africans. If we are having issues among ourselves, we should sit in-house and we address our issues as a continent. We don't need big brother kind of syndrome approach to come from Brussels and say, no, we are the ones going to make a resolution. And it makes huge news. It affects our tourism. It affects our standing in a community. Some of the things they don't know. So this is what I'm going to take up at the high level of the leadership of the EU Parliament. And yes, and I'll be calling, I'm preparing a meeting with the regional presidents so that we can go to Brussels and we engage with these people. The way we don't interfere into their issues, they shouldn't be interfering in ours. Now,
so we've been having discussions on what our priorities should be as a region as we engage the EU Parliamentary Assembly. And one of the issues that we are concerned about is the lack of consistency, because when we are in our joint Parliamentary Assembly, we discuss with the Commission, and we expect that our partners, especially across in Europe, would be, consistent, especially when it comes to some of the priority areas we discussed. On the issue of peace and security and governance, we have just had elections in Uganda, and the European delegation had observers observing the elections, and they gave us a very, very good report declaring that the elections were free and fair. But later we saw the European Parliament actually passing a resolution trying to condemn the elections and summoning our ambassador. So we think that there should be consistency. You cannot have one European Union body speaking a different language from the other, and therefore we are calling upon our partners that we need to have proper dialogue, honest, but also trust among ourselves so that we can be able to push forward some of the priorities ahead.
Yeah, my name is Amos Kankunda. I represent the people of Uganda in the Ugandan Parliament. And today we were privileged to join other colleagues in the region, in Africa and everywhere, who joined here in the OACPS conference that is happening in Eswatini. And particularly what is very important is how we develop as legislators the important aspects that govern our people, the independence, the sovereignty of our people, but also to understand that because we ratified the Samoa agreements, and this alone gives us an opportunity to stand independent and even manage our own issues. And that's why we are concerned. Even the president of the conference was talking about why did really the EU Assembly have to summon the Ugandan ambassador over issues of our internal political management, yet we should be able to stand alone and be able to defend our positions the independence that comes with the ratification of this Samoa agreement. Really, we condemn in the highest terms possible. We should be allowed to manage our own internal politics. And this is the reason why we come together, to be able to understand the differences that we have in the East African region, in the Southern, and even Africa generally as a region, to be able to handle our matters internally and even compare, to be able to be given an opportunity to trade with the EU, be able to export, do a value addition and benefit from the trade at almost equal terms. And this is what is very critical. So we really condemn in the highest terms possible the idea of mingling into our internal politics, yet we have ratified the Samoa agreements. Thank you.
What is very surprising, there are countries, when we were, the last meeting when we were in Brussels, the last meeting that we had, we discussed and agreed that one of the clauses in the Samoa agreement, or most of the clauses in the Samoa agreement, is that the independence of a state will be respected. The only issue is that to increase the relationship between Europe and Africa, or European Parliament, European states, and the member states of Africa. Now recently, we had an example where we had the elections in Uganda. European Union were among the observers in Uganda, but after the elections, you realize, as European Union recommended and said, they said Uganda had peaceful elections, they were fantastic. Few days later, we hear the European Parliament sitting to condemn Uganda, that elections were not free and fair, and there was a problem. And you see, this European Parliament has a history of meddling and interfering with the issues of Uganda. The other time, you remember, we had the oil story. The other time, we had the homosexuality issue. Now, this time, after elections, they sat and even summoned the ambassador, the Ugandan ambassador, to European countries, to Brussels. They summoned her for an interview. Look at the extent of a parliament summoning an ambassador. We wonder where they picked the guts and the audacity. Yet, in the Samoa agreement, where Uganda even ratified, Uganda signed and ratified the agreement, one of the first states to ratify, meaning that they respected the Samoa agreement, and it should be respected even by the European Parliament. One of the clauses in that Samoa agreement is respect for international relations. Each country is independent. The way it runs its international relationship with the rest of the countries must be respected. Two, equally another clause of peace and security in that agreement of the Samoa agreement is that countries are respected, and the peace in that country, security in that country, is promoted by the European Parliament, by the European Union, at the same time with the country that is concerned. Now, when you go ahead and begin meddling in the issues of an independent state, saying the elections were not, and you are a parliament of another state, yet you have a relationship, you have an agreement, you signed, and you say we shall respect your independence, we shall respect your sovereignty, we shall respect you, the way you do your things, and your international relationship will be respected. In case of anything, we shall agree and discuss. There is a forum, how it must be discussed, not through a parliament of another state to summon an ambassador of another country or a parliament of another state to begin asking issues, yet they are on table. So that is why you heard me asking the president that how can we trust the agreement we are signing? How can other member states of Africa trust this agreement, the Samoa agreement, when there is an example of already an existing country called Uganda, which has already ratified the agreement, but a parliament of European Union is interfering with the affairs of an independent country called Uganda. So how will the rest of the countries also get the guts of signing and being sure that they are going to be respected, instead of taking advantage of that, again, more squeezing them?